Well, this film didn't do so well. I'm wondering if I want to do an uncap or a recap on this, but I figured that since the film puts barely any effort at all, why should I? Welcome to Appabend's Uncapped, a series of reviews by yours truly. Today's review is on Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, the final episode of the sequel trilogy. But before we get started, YouTube might or might not demonetize this video, so thank you all for supporting this channel. You can do so by checking the links down below. Kylo Ren finds an object that I'm going to refer to as a MacGuffin because it's what it is. This object will lead him into Emperor Palpatine, who was supposed to be dead in Return of the Jedi, but he didn't die because... actually, I can't remember. Either the film explained it really badly or I just have bad memory. But regardless, there are two copies of the MacGuffins and the Resistance has to find the other one. So it's pretty much a scavenger hunt plot, the sequel team versus the Empire, and who will get the MacGuffin first. There was a scene in X-Men Apocalypse that I want to bring up.
Well, at least we can all agree the third one's always the worst.
Yeah, that basically sums up this film. And that's even if you really like the previous two films. And before you get to this film, I'm gonna link you to a Reddit leak of the film's plot to make the point that the leak over there is mostly accurate. This film is, well, basic. The story is very simple, the characters are very simple, and that's fine for Star Wars, but the problem is that this is the conclusion of the film trilogy, involving the characters that you're supposed to be invested in. But here's the problem. I'm not invested with any of the characters throughout the trilogy. The internet always loves to debate on Rey being OP to the point where people are nicknaming her May Rey Sue. If you're one of those people who disagree, unfortunately this film won't help you because this film buffed her. She is freaking strong. Yes, she does receive more training, but most of it is off screen. Her training with Luke isn't exactly smooth either, so I'm not invested with her development. I'm not interested with her character. I don't care if she's the daughter or granddaughter of insert popular Star Wars character here. She's just not an interesting character that I want to get invested by. J.J. Abrams doesn't like to have his story to be interrupted with any sorts of character development. This film has the same problem as The Force Awakens. It has way too much action and little to no character development. There's barely a point in the previous two in which you see these three characters together. The film makes the point that they can win if they fight together, but we don't even see them fight together until the very last film. Can I just say that I feel really bad for Finn? Finn is an infinitely more interesting character. The fact that he's a stormtrooper suddenly turning to the good side is quite interesting. Why is he not the protagonist of this entire trilogy? I'm more invested in his character and his development. I want to see his development from a literal nobody into a significant part of the Resistance, but the film just ignores him in favor of Rey. As for Poe, he actually does get some development in this one, but that's like saying me typing "duh" is a great development in my essay. The dynamic between Kylo and Rey is... it's stupid. There's no other way for me to describe it. Their dialogues are best summed up as, "Join me, no. Join me, no." I couldn't care less about Rey and I couldn't care less about Kylo. I couldn't care less about any of the characters, not even the original trilogy characters. They're just more husk of this entire franchise to exist. They're there to validate the canon, not to actually give a satisfying conclusion to their storyline. And I don't think most people want this trilogy to be canon, especially with this underwhelming film. The question at this point isn't whether or not Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is bad. The question is, how bad? Unfortunately, I'm at the state where the sequels are so underwhelming that whatever sorts of bad things that this film pulled, I can't even measure how bad it is. Oh wow, they did that really stupid thing. How utterly surprising. Here's me being really mad about it. It's kind of like being mad that public toilets are dirty as hell. You experience them so much to the point where you just sort of accept it. You knew it was gonna happen and you just sort of move on. The sequel trilogy underwhelmed so much that I didn't even expect this film to be good or entertaining. If it's bad, then it meets expectations. If it underwhelms, then it meets expectations. And in that respect, this film does meet my expectation. The bad of this film has been normalized. So when the film does something that's really bad, I just don't get mad at all. I expected it to do that, and the film did. Rey being overpowered, the other characters being wasted, the original trilogy's characters wasted, way too much action and little to no breathing room for any sorts of character development. These are all the sorts of things that the sequel trilogy does. Oh, I forgot one more thing that the sequel trilogy loves to do. Wasting villains. Palpatine can be replaced by literally anybody. He can be replaced with Snoke, but Snoke got freaking canned in the last film, and it's very clear that this film really wants him back. Then there's Phasma, who is always wasted every single time, and most importantly, Kylo Ren. This film has no idea what to do with him. The sequel trilogy in general has no idea what to do with him. Thanks to the villains being wasted, they pose little to no threat to our protagonist. In fact, the entire film doesn't pose any threat to our protagonist. At least with The Last Jedi, there's an element of survival and desperation that makes it somewhat intriguing. Sure, the plot is dumb, but at least I can feel the threat. Not so much in this one. I feel nothing. I feel that the characters are going to be just fine throughout the film. I feel that the characters will overcome whatever they're trying to overcome. That makes the film less intriguing and a lot more boring. This is made even worse at the end, where they just pull off a bunch of rebels out of thin air. It just made their victory to feel less earned. One more thing that I want to point out, I just want to say how interesting it is that when people spoil the film, I don't see a lot of outrage. I do see a lot of outrage to people spoiling Endgame, for example, but not this one. People just don't care. Star Wars is supposed to be a major cultural phenomenon, and in some ways it is, or at least as long as the corporations think that they're commercially viable. But audiences are just fed up by the bad of Star Wars. They want the good Star Wars, and thankfully, the non-flagship modern Star Wars are actually good. The Mandalorian is good, Jedi Die Twice is good. I was quite harsh towards Rogue One, but looking back, it smells better than what this sequel trilogy offers. At the end of the day, just like the other sequel trilogy films, this film is underwhelming, as expected. It has all of the problems that the other sequel films have, and it fixes absolutely nothing. Not that this film can fix it anyway. If you want my version of the sequel trilogy, it will be with less action, more character development, a more balanced role between the three main characters, treat the original trilogy characters with more respect than what this film did, and actually make the villains threatening, memorable, and something that the protagonists need to work their hard ass off to overcome, rather than just a bunch of disposables that can easily be replaced by anybody. If the sequel trilogy can do all of that, then it might be good. But they didn't do it. Give Star Wars to someone that actually cares about Star Wars and wants to make good Star Wars stuff. That, or just let this franchise die in peace.